Hi all, welcome back. So today we're going to be creating this pixelated reveal effect with our images. You can see when we scroll down we get that nice kind of pixelated fade in effect on our images. So we're going to achieve this using Canvas, the HTML5 canvas, and some JavaScript just to use the request animation frames and the intersection observer API as well. So when our canvas does come into the viewport 100%, we get that pixelated reveal effect. So yeah, I hope you enjoy guys, and let's get going. Thanks. Okay guys, so to get started, you can see I've just got the three usual files. We've got index.html, a style.css file and an app.js file. I also have a folder here just called assets. This contains 15 images that I've sourced from Unsplash. They're AVIF files. See, I've just got random abstract images from Unsplash. Use whatever images you want for this tutorial. So let's just get our HTML up and running first. So we're going to the index.html file here and boilerplate code, and then just emit that. Okay, and then what I want to do, I just want to do the script source to the app.js file in the body here down the bottom. And then we also just want to link to our style.css. Okay, and that's all we're going to be doing for HTML. We're going to be injecting the images with JavaScript just to save time. So if we just open this in Live Server, so if we come here, open with Live Server in VS Code, and I'm going to bring this over to my screen here. Okay, so let's just go into the CSS file now, and we'll just get some basic CSS going. So here, let me just zoom in as well. Okay, so if we just do, we'll say margin, I just want to change this to CSS as well down here. We'll just do the global settings. We'll say margin 0, padding 0, box size in border box. And then underneath this, I'm going to target the HTML and the body, and we're just going to give this a background color of black, like so. And then underneath this, we're going to have some section elements. We're going to inject these with JavaScript, and here we're going to display these with flexbox. So we'll say display flex, so we can center the images. Each section is going to contain one image, and then we'll also just say align items to the center, and then justify content to the center as well. And then we'll just give these sections a width of 100% to fill the screen horizontally, and we'll give them a min height of 100 viewport height so they fill the screen vertically as well. Now underneath this, we're going to have image containers next, so it divs with a class of image __ container, and these are just going to have a position of relative, and we'll give these a width of 400 pixels as well. Okay, so these image container divs are going to be used to contain the actual image as well as the canvas that we're going to be used to create that pixelated effect. I'm next going to target the image elements. We're going to give these a width of 100% to fill the parent element container here, which will be 400 pixels. And then we're going to give these an opacity of 0. Because we don't want to actually see these, we're going to be using the canvas to display the images instead. And then I think we're nearly done, so we just want to target the canvases next. We're going to be applying a canvas for each image. We'll give these a position of absolute, top 0, left 0, and we'll give these an opacity of 0 at first, and we're going to bring these in when we scroll into the page. I'll leave that blank. I'll comment that out for now just so we can see the effect as we're working on it. And I'm just going to give these a transition as well. So transition of 0.5 seconds. And then we'll also just say canvas. And when we apply an active class using JavaScript, then we're just going to give them, bring them in or fade them in with the opacity of 1. Okay, that's it for our CSS. Now let's move to the JavaScript next. So in the JavaScript file, the first thing we want to do is create an image array. And this is just going to contain all of our image instances, our pixelated image instances. And underneath this, the first thing we want to do actually is just grab all of our images in our assets folder and we want to just create the sections and append them to the document. So to do that, I'm just going to do a for loop here. So let I equal 0, and whilst I is less than 15, because you have 15 images, I'll just say I++, and then here I'm going to say let section equal document dot create element, and we'll create a section here, and then we're going to say let div equal document dot create element. I just want to create a div here, and then we say we're going to add a class list to this div. We'll say div.class list, don't need a space in there, and we're just going to say dot add, and we're going to add just that image container class, just so our CSS here will target that position relative and a width of 400 pixels. Okay, and we need to, yep, that's fine. Next, we'll just say let image equals document dot create element again, and we'll just create an image element here. Oh. And then we'll give this image, we'll say dot source like so, and that's going to equal, we'll use backticks here for a template literal, dot /, I'll target our assets folder, and then we'll say, we'll take in the index or I, and we need to +1 because I've actually started the naming convention from 1, not 0, so I'm just going to add the +1 there, and then we'll just say .avif file like so. So that's our source. Now underneath this we can say div.append child, and we'll append the image, and then we'll say section.append child, and then we can append the div. Okay, so I think, yeah, that's looking okay. So now what we want to do, let's just come in here, make sure we've not got any errors. Okay, so now that's done, let's just look in here as well. Okay, and then we just need to append that to the body, sorry, as well. Document.body .append child, and then we can just append the sections. Okay, and we did leave our images as, let's take that off for now. So now you can see that our images have been applied there. So that's how it'll look at the end. Yeah, there's our images. Cool, so that's working. Let's just bring these, make these opaque now, or transparent, sorry. So the next thing we want to do is I'm going to create an intersection observer. Okay, so this is going to be used for when we scroll into the viewport, the images will be revealed. So to do that, we're just going to say here, first we need to create some options for our observer. Okay, and then what this means is, so we'll say options equals, and this option will contain a root margin, capital M, and we're going to create that, well, we'll leave that at 0 pixels, and then we're also going to have a threshold, and that's just going to be 1.0. Okay, and what these will do, basically just mean that for our each of our images or canvases, that when we're looking for, when they're in the viewport, we need them to be 100% in the viewport for the reveal effect to occur. That's what this is, 100% threshold and 0 margins. Okay, so we want just 100% of the element in the viewport, and that will trigger off the reveal effect. Now I'm going to create a callback here, which will be a function. We'll say let callback equal, and this is going to take in the entries, and here we're just going to say entries, so this will be each of our images basically, and we're just going to say .for each, and why doesn't it do that? Okay, let's entries.for each, and here I'm just going to say entry. This is each entry that our observer is going to be monitoring, and here we're just going to say if entry dot is intersecting then we'll say well, first we'll just say console dot log entry.target, like so. We'll leave it there for now. We need to adjust this a bit later just to, well, toggle the reveal effect. But we'll come out of this and we'll just say, we'll create a new observer instance. So we'll say observer equal new intersection observer. We'll pass in the callback that we just created here. So whenever the entries will go into the viewport, it will trigger that callback function. And then we'll also just pass in the options that we created at the top up here. So we'll just say options, and that will apply these threshold parameters for our observer. Okay, now what we want to do here is we're going to create a class next. So we'll just say class, and we'll say pixel image. Okay, and what this will do, this will have a constructor, and this will take in an ID, which will be the class or the index of the image. We'll take in the actual image itself, so the source of the image. It will take a width, and it will also take a height. Now in here, we're just going to say this.id equals ID that we pass in. We'll say this.image equals image. We'll say this.style width. This is going to equal width. And you'll see why we're doing this in a second. And then we're just going to say this.style height equals height. And then we'll also just say this.width equals width times window.device pixel ratio. And the reason we're doing this is because when we create images on the canvas, for some screens, so if you're, for example, you're using a retina display, you'll have different device pixel ratios. So for example, on this screen that I'm using, it has a device pixel ratio of 1. But, on Macs this can be 2 sometimes. So this is why we need to work this out in order to make sure that our canvases are displaying the image in the correct resolution for your device. Okay, so that's what that does. That's what we need to do here. And we do the same thing for the height as well. So I'm just going to change this to height. So we say this.height. And then, so we're just multiplying that by the device pixel ratio. We're going to start with initial percent for our images, and we're going to be using this to apply the percentage of pixelation. So the lower the percentage, the more pixelated our images will appear. I'll just do a really low number now, so 0.001 for the percentage. And then, okay, so we're going to just create 2 methods for this class, or 3 methods actually. The first one will be to apply the canvas to our divs. Okay, so you can see here for each section we have the div, the image container, we have the image. Now we just need to create a canvas for each image. Let's do that. We'll just say apply canvas coming out of the constructor, and here we're just going to say this.canvas equals document.createElement. We'll create a canvas, and then we'll say this.canvas.classList.add, and we just want to add this.id. Okay, just so we know when we're using the intersection observer, we know which canvas we want to apply the effect to by the targeting it by its ID that we give it. And then we're just going to say this.context next equals this.canvas.getContext. And we're just going to use a 2D context here, just because this is just a 2D effect, it's not a 3D effect or anything. And then we're also just going to say, we're next going to target the parent element. So this dot image that we pass in here, and we're going to be passing the actual image instance here, so this part here. So what we want to do to append the canvas is we need to target the parent element, which will be this div, the image container. So what we're going to do here is say this.image.parent element dot append child, and then we're just going to append this.canvas like so. Okay, then we're just going to say here underneath this, we'll say this.canvas, and we'll just say .width, and that's going to equal this.width that we pass in here, so by the device pixel ratio. and then we'll just say this dot canvas dot height equals this dot height. And then now we're just going to do the style width as well. Let me just, for now, we'll just say, actually, yeah, okay, we'll leave that. So we'll come underneath this, and I'm just going to say this dot canvas. Now we just need to do this dot style dot width, and that's going to equal, we're going to do a template list rule here, using backticks. We'll say this dot style width pixels, and then we'll say this dot canvas dot style dot height equals this dot style height pixels. Okay, and then what we also need to do is do a scaled width as well. So these are all variables which are going to be used just to create that pixelated effect. So I'm just going to say this dot scaled width equals this dot width times this dot percentage. Actually, I'm going to change that just to percent. Just to save some letter space. This dot percent, and then we'll do the same for the scaled height as well. So we'll just say this dot scaled height. And we'll just do this dot height times this dot percent. Now what we also need to do here is we need to turn off image aliasing, and this will just allow us to, well, when we the canvas has aliasing already applied, so that means it will try to smooth out the images as much as possible. So we want to turn that default setting off. So what we do here is just say this dot ctx dot, and we're just going to use 4 different settings here just so it works across all browsers. So we'll use the Microsoft image smoothing enabled. That's going to equal false. That's for, you know, your Microsoft Edge browser, that kind of thing. This will apply for. And then we'll use the Mozilla browser. So say this dot ctx dot moz image. Just copy that. Smoothing enabled equals false, and then we'll just do this dot WebKit image smoothing enabled, and then we'll just do one where it's just image smoothing enabled, like so, and that should be MS, like so. Right, now what we want to say, that's it for our settings. We can just now take that observer that we created, dot observe this dot canvas, like so. Okay, so we should have, if we come in here now, we did append child here, so this dot image dot parent. Oh, we need to create our instance actually, don't we? So let's just do that first. I'll just create a function here called generate pixel images, coming out of the class, and here we're just going to target all of our images first. We'll say let images equal, we'll use a spread operator here. We'll say document dot query selector all. Let's target all image elements, and then we're just going to say images dot for each image. We'll also pass in the index as well into this for each function, and then we'll just say well, first we need to destructure the width and the height of each image, okay, because we're going to create this new class instance, and we need to get those width and height elements. So we'll just say let width height equal image dot get bounding client rect, and then we'll just say let pixel image equal new pixel image, so a new instance of that class. We're going to pass in the index, we'll pass in the image, and then we'll pass in the width that we extracted here, and then we'll also just pass in the height, like so. And I think that's pretty much it. And then the final thing what we want to do here is just push that to the image array that we created up here. So I'm just going to say image array dot push pixel image. Okay, and now you can see we need to call this function as well. So what I am going to say here is I'm just going to set a timeout to call this when the page loads. So I'm just going to say set timeout, and we're just going to say generate pixel images, and I'm going to give this just a millisecond time. Okay, so now still not on the generate pixel images. Okay, so set timeout, generate pixel images. Right, let's see why that's not applying should be applying. I know why, it's because we didn't call a function, so we'll just say this dot apply canvas. And now you can see we have our canvases and they're the same dimensions as our images. Okay, in the same area. So that's looking good. Now we're nearly done with this. We just need to do two more functions here. So I'm just going to say draw first. So we'll come underneath the apply canvas method and we'll just say draw. We'll have a draw method. And here we're just going to say this dot ctx dot draw image. So we have a draw image. Now we can pass in for the first argument. We need to do this twice for this function to work. So we need to pass in this dot image, and then we can say we want to start it from 0 and 0 coordinates. For the width, we want it to be this dot scaled width, and then for the height, we'll say this dot scaled height, and then we actually want to do another draw image function. And here we're next going to take in, not this dot image this time, we're going to actually just distort the canvas. So we're going to say this dot canvas for the first argument here. Again, we're going to be using the scaled width, but then what we also need to do here is just apply some additional arguments. So we want to start off again at 0 and 0 for the dx and dy number, and then we're just going to pass in this dot width to fill the width of the canvas, and then this dot height to fill the height of the canvas, not the scaled height, but we want to make sure, because we're scaling this, we do want to stretch out the image to be the width of the canvas and the height of the canvas. Okay, so if I just say this dot draw as well in our constructor, we'll say this dot draw. Okay, so, and what I also want to do is just let's just bring this opacity off. Okay. Right, so that's that. Now the next thing we need to do here, let's just make sure all of our CSS okay. Canvas is off. Okay. Just thinking, why can't we see our canvases at the moment? Let me just adjust the percentage a second. So if we set this to 1%. Okay, we can see the image now. So if we do 0.1, you can see that's the effect this is having. So I think our percent was too low. 0.01, you know, we get really, this is what the percentage that we need to adjust to get that, well, fade that effect in. So when it's at 1, we have the full image, and that's just the canvas being displayed there. So let's set it at 0.1 first. That'll look good. Okay, so next thing we want to do now is just do the reveal effect. Okay, so what we can say here is I actually want to adjust my observer function. So we can say console.log entry.target. Now you can see when we go down, we do get that console log now when the images go into the viewport, like so. Okay, so that's working. Now what we want to do is just get the class list in that. So we can say .class list. Okay, and then you can see we have that applied, so that's good. And then we just need to say as well, want to get the first argument. Okay, so that gets the number or the class number, and that logs it to the console. So that's what we're doing there. And then what we need to say here is, so we're just going to say image array, and then we're just going to pass in this class. And I'm just going to add a plus symbol so it's a number, so it turns it into an actual number. And then we're just going to call a reveal function, which we're going to embed into our class. Okay. So now if we do that now, so we get an error because we haven't actually done that reveal function yet. So let's do that. I'm going to come underneath the drawer, say reveal. And what we're going to say in the reveal function is, we'll say this.canvas.classList.add active. And then we'll say this.percent. We're going to adjust the percent now. We're going to say that equals this.percent if it's less than 0.1 question mark. Then we'll just say what we're going to do. We're going to take this.percent and we're going to increment it by 0.001. Else, if the percent is greater than 0.1, then we're just going to increment it faster just to speed up the effect. So we'll just say this.percent plus equals 0.2. Now what we also need to say here is if that increments above 1, we'll say, so for example, if this.percent is greater than 1, then we'll just say this.percent equals 1, because we only want it to go up to 100%. We don't want it to go beyond that because it will continue to distort the image the opposite direction. Now what we want to do here is we're just going to say this.scaled width equals this.width, and then we will take that new percent times this.percent. We'll do the same thing for the height. This.height this time. And then I'm just going to take or draw these again. So we'll take these two drawing functions here, and we'll just we'll copy them in like so. And then what we can say now is we're just going to continue to run this real function whilst the percent is less than 1. So what I'm going to say is if this.percent is less than 1, then we're just going to request an animation frame, and we're just going to say this.reveal, and we need to say bind to this keyword just so it does that for each instance. And now you can see when we scroll down we get that pixelated reveal effect. Now what I do want to do is just come here and adjust the CSS again just so it fades in as well. Yeah, so if we refresh, you can see now we get that fade in as well, and we get that pixelated reveal effect. Obviously you can adjust the settings to speed this up. Yeah, just if you come down to the reveal effect, you can bring this up to 0.01. That's actually very quick, so you might want to just do, experiment really with your numbers just to make sure. I mean, that's very quick reveal as well. I think I'll go for that's quite a cool reveal time, 0.02. Go with that. But there you go. That's how you do this pixelated reveal effect when you scroll into the viewport. Yeah, there's a console login there. We can remove that now. Don't need that anymore. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, guys. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.